Now at 6, 3 people are dead and at least 90 are missing after an earthquake hit Thailand and neighboring Myanmar overnight. We have the latest on recovery efforts. Plus, major job cuts are coming to the Department of Health and Human Services, and Oregon nurses are not happy about it.
These cuts, they're reckless, they're very ill thought out.
Why they believe this will add to the state's overcrowded ER crisis. Portland City Council looking into a new model that could get more affordable housing in the city. Your KGW News at Sunrise starts right now. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on your Friday here. I'm China Green. Headed over to Rod Hill now for a look at weather. Good morning, Rod.
Good morning. Happy Friday to you at home. A wet start, but not overly wet. Certainly nothing stormy out there. You can see the radar. I mean, if you just glance at it, it looks really wet from north of Eugene all the way up to Seattle. Some showery weather out east. Snow levels are generally just above 4,000 feet in the Cascades, where the snow has not been heavy so far. And then a closer look, though, Portland, Canby, Salem, it's actually pretty dry. So maybe you have to turn on the windshield wipers. Maybe you don't if you're leaving anytime soon. Down in Salem, some rain overnight, but right now dry and overcast, 47 degrees. Here's the Rose City camera with rain being reported out along the Columbia at PDX and 51. There is a noticeable south breeze up to about 10, 20, even 25 miles per hour this morning. So rainy areas this morning, breaking up into an increasingly scattered shower afternoon. Temperatures get up to 57 degrees. All in all, not a bad Friday. Your weekend forecast coming up. Here's Ashley.
Sounds good, Rod. Now, I do want to start out at the coast because we are hearing that out near Astoria, 202 is impacted right now because of a response to a fire. Now, we have reached out. We are working to learn more about this fire. This is between River Point Drive and Cedar Bay Road. Again, we're seeing an impact here to 202. So please give yourself a little bit of extra time to move safely around those first responders. Now, as for the rest of your commute on the freeways around the metro area, things look pretty good. This is I-5 near the Interstate Bridge. A similar story on Interstate 84 at 82nd. We'll keep you updated this morning. China.
Ashley, thank you. We start your 6 o'clock hour with breaking news of a deadly earthquake in Southeast Asia. A 7.7 magnitude quake hit central Myanmar just before midnight our time. A second magnitude 6.4 quake struck about 12 minutes later. And so far this morning, at least 3 people are reported dead. Dozens are trapped under a collapsed high-rise in Bangkok. A journalist with the Associated Press spoke to a woman who felt the quake.
So I thought I was fainting because everything suddenly shaking just a little bit, and then when you feel harder, and I was turning to my boss and I was like, do you feel the same thing? And she's like, yeah, I thought it was me. And then the light started to fall off the floor, the ground, and then we ran down to the building from 25th floor.
It's not clear right now what relief efforts the local military will be able to provide, but we'll continue to have more coverage on this coming up later in our show. The Today Show will also be covering this earthquake after sunrise starting at 7 o'clock. The Department of Health and Human Services is facing massive job cuts. The cuts come as the White House tries to turn the page from the Signal group chat, despite growing calls of an investigation from both Democrats and Republicans. NBC's Alice Bowers in Washington with the latest.
The Department of Health and Human Services, the new target of the Trump administration's government cuts, center stage again, with the announcement HHS is set to slash 10,000 workers, including a planned 3,500 at the FDA and 2,400 at the CDC.
We're keenly focused on paring away excess administrators while increasing the number of scientists and frontline health providers.
The new cuts on top of 10,000 jobs gone through the Department of Government Efficiency. In all, the agency appears set to lose a quarter of its staff. Democrats worry American healthcare and research will suffer.
How they're going to backfill, how they're going to make sure we're not losing critical muscle.
Elon Musk appearing on Fox News with several DOJ staffers pushing back on criticism his team has moved too fast, occasionally forced to rehire fired workers, including at the FDA.
We want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once. When we do make mistakes, we correct them quickly, and we move on.
As the White House acknowledged mistakes in that Signal group chat when a reporter was accidentally added alongside top Trump officials discussing sensitive plans for imminent U.S. airstrikes in Yemen.
A national security advisor took responsibility for that, and we have said we are making changes.
NBC News has learned President Trump is privately angry with National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who started the chat. That's according to 2 Republican sources with inside knowledge. A federal judge now ordering the officials in the chat to preserve the messages amid an ongoing lawsuit. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And those cuts to the Department of Health and Human Services could impact the Pacific Northwest. Sunrise reporter Thomas Schultz joins us in the newsroom. So, Thomas, what have we learned here?
Well, China, the Oregon Health Authority says those cuts will eliminate $117 million a year before those funds were set to expire. OHA says that money supported substance abuse treatment programs in clinics offering vaccines. Addiction crisis lines and labs that study respiratory viruses also rely on that money. There's concern over how these cuts will impact people who use federal health centers. The chief of staff for the Oregon Nurses Association told us if federal health centers close, it'll funnel more people and more pressure onto local departments.
For example, free maternal care, right? Those folks won't have any place else to turn but the emergency rooms of their local hospitals.
Now, Scott Palmer, the chief of staff for the ONA, went on to say he thinks these cuts are reckless and, quote, ill thought out. China?
But, Thomas, what do local supporters of this decision have to say?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Earlier this month, Cliff Bentz, a Republican congressman serving Eastern Oregon, expressed his backing for the cuts. In a statement, he said in part, "I'm just happy that somebody finally is stepping up and trying to get this out-of-control spending situation under control." Now, the Oregon Nurses Association is calling on congressional Oregon delegation and specifically Representative Bentz to oppose these cuts to the Department of Health and Human Services. Jenna?
Thomas, thank you. And speaking of cuts, the USDA is sunsetting some programs that provide millions of dollars and hundreds of meals to people in need. The Oregon Food Bank says some 30 truckloads, nearly 1.5 million pounds of food that were set to be delivered this spring have all been canceled. The USDA calling the move, quote, a return to long-term fiscally responsible initiatives. And a Seattle judge has blocked President Donald Trump's order banning transgender people from serving in the military. In January, President Trump signed an executive order saying the identity of transgender service members, quote, conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle. Last week, a federal judge in Washington, D.C. also issued an order blocking that ban. Portland City Council is looking into what's called social housing to build more affordable homes. Social housing is affordable housing that is owned and managed by city government or nonprofits instead of our typical model of housing, which is run by private developers. 2 city councilors introduced a resolution to study how this housing model could work in Portland, and the full council will vote on it next month. This comes as the city is facing a shortage of affordable housing and would be another way to address homelessness in Portland. Here's one of the counselors behind this.
I know it sounds like a big thing, right? But I think ultimately what social housing is about creating a different kind of housing that is publicly owned and permanently affordable and prioritizes people over profit.
If you can't afford housing, it's almost like you can't afford to live, period. You know, like if your housing is taking more than half of your income, how are you buying groceries? How are you buying gas?
You can watch Blair Best's full report on this right now on KGW Plus and on our KGW YouTube channel. If you're looking to add a new pup to your household, the Oregon Humane Society in Portland is hosting a unique adoption event Saturday. It's called Perfect Match. I love this. It's kind of like speed dating with dogs. 10 dogs who've been in the shelter for a long time will get to spend 10 minutes each with 10 possible adopters. If you are interested, you'll need to fill out a questionnaire beforehand. OregonHumane.org has all the information you need there. I love that. Isn't that fun? That's the type of speed dating I can get behind.
It's probably aggressive speed dating in that the dogs would be kissing everybody in line.
Yes.
That's aggressive speed dating.
That's okay.
All right, here's a look at our headline for the weekend. I think the weekend, when we look back, we're going to say, hey, that was actually pretty nice. So we have rainy areas out there this morning, breaking into scattered showers. There will be scattered showers around for your Friday evening, but scattered means maybe where you are, it's actually pretty dry. And then tomorrow, it's sun and scattered showers with way more dry time than wet time. Any showers that catch you tomorrow would be brief. And then we're all dry Saturday night. We're all dry Sunday morning when you wake up, with rain coming in the afternoon up from the south. It might be 4 o'clock or after before that rain moves into Portland. So there will be lots of dry time with comfortable temperatures for this weekend. The end of course, Oregon spring break and the beginning of Washington spring break. Here's the radar. We've got showers out through Spokane. We've got a mix of snow flurries and light rain out east where valley temperatures are holding generally 40 or better. And then you can see the rain on the west side north of Eugene. But there's been kind of a gap area between Salem and Portland where there's been very little rain over the last couple of hours. There are some heavier rain pockets up over the coast range getting into the mountains. So far only a couple inches of snow above 4,000 feet up in the Cascades. Bricks are wet in downtown from the rain that we've had overnight. It's been about 1/10 of an inch. We're at 51 degrees right now. There is a noticeable south wind blowing the flags around, gusting to 20-25 miles per hour at times. And that's pretty widespread across the valley right now. Battleground, good morning, 48 degrees. 47 in Kaiser, 47 degrees in Salem. Later today, a scattered shower pattern. And temperatures, if you look at John Day, Baker City, Salem 52, pretty much 50 or better across much of our area today. Portland, I'll go 57. And we talked about the weekend being not bad. 58 tomorrow, could be 60 Sunday before rain moves in. Rainy Sunday night into Monday morning, and then rain at times next week of daytime highs generally in the mid-50s. And that is your update.